A Canadian gentleman tragically loses his wife, and he decides to arrange a tombstone for her. He visits the stonemason and requests a gravestone with the inscription, "Rest in peace." A few days before the funeral, he returns to the stonemason's shop and notices a significant mistake. It reads, "Rest in peace." Apologetically, he addresses the mason, "I'm sorry, but I intended it to be peace with an A." The day before the funeral, the stonemason presents the widower with the revised version of the gravestone. He proudly states, "I've corrected it with the A now." The gravestone now bears the inscription, "Rest in peace, eh?" The Dean of Women at an exclusive all-girls school was giving a lecture to her students about the importance of maintaining sexual morality. In the challenging times we live in today, especially for young people, she began, when faced with moments of temptation, I want you to ask yourselves a crucial question. Is a brief moment of pleasure worth the enduring burden of shame throughout your lifetime? From the back of the room, a young woman stood up and humorously inquired, "Pardon me, but how do you manage to make it last for an entire hour?" One day, a group of Swedes and another team of Norwegians were hired to install telephone poles. Their manager provided instructions on how to drive the poles into the ground and then left them to their tasks as he attended to other matters. When he returned at the end of the day to check their progress, he was surprised. First, he noticed that the Norwegian team had successfully erected 15 poles. Impressed, he commended them, saying, "You've done a fantastic job. You are the most efficient team I've ever seen." Next, he turned his attention to the Swedes' work area. To his dismay, he found that they hadn't made nearly as much progress. However, they appeared strangely pleased with themselves. Perplexed, the manager asked the Swedes, "Why have you only managed to install 3 telephone poles? The Norwegians right over there managed to put up 5 times as many in the same amount of time, you know." A member of the Swedish team responded, "Well, yes, they did, but take a look at how much higher theirs are sticking out of the ground." A nail company known as Wilson's Nails faced a decline in their revenue and decided to explore the idea of an advertising campaign to revitalize their business. They reached out to a prestigious ad agency on Madison Avenue to create a TV commercial. After a few weeks, the agency gathered the company's owners and senior managers to unveil the initial concept for their ad. The commercial begins with a shot of a desolate, barren desert. Slowly, the camera zooms in, revealing a hill in the midst of the desolation. As it zooms in further, small figures around the hill become visible, resembling ants at first. Continuing to zoom in, it becomes apparent that these figures are people, and 3 crosses emerge from the top of the hill. The camera eventually focuses on the middle cross, where a weary, bleeding man in a white loincloth is hanging, wearing a crown of thorns. A Roman centurion is seen on a ladder beside him, securing him to the beams. The centurion turns to the camera and says, "We always use Wilson's nails." The room erupts with immediate shock and outrage. The company's board and owners are on their feet, expressing their vehement disapproval, deeming it the worst idea they've encountered for their brand. They question how the agency could ever think this concept would benefit their business. The agency representatives offer their sincerest apologies, acknowledging their severe misunderstanding and vowing to make amends. With persistence, they eventually convince the company to give them a second chance and rework the campaign entirely without any additional charges. A few weeks later, the board and owners reconvene. The agency reassures them that they have fully embraced their feedback and are confident that the new direction will be well received. They watch the revised video proof. This time, the commercial opens with a serene and picturesque blue sea. The camera zooms in slightly, revealing an island in the distance. As it zooms in further, the island appears to be a paradise with palm trees, coral, and pristine white sand beaches. Drawing closer, Three figures can be seen strolling along the beach. Moving in even closer, it becomes apparent that the figures are not leisurely walking, but rather chasing one another. The camera continues to zoom, revealing a gaunt man in a white loincloth, desperately running across the sandy shores. Suddenly, the focus shifts to his pursuers, two Roman centurions clad in full armor. As the camera settles on one of the centurions, he turns to it, sweaty and breathless, and humorously remarks, "We should have used Wilson's nails." A man was faced with an urgent need to use the restroom. He rushed to the nearest restroom and anxiously entered, only to find that the single stall was already occupied. Trying to maintain his composure, he waited around for a few minutes, but it appeared that the person inside had no intention of leaving anytime soon. Growing increasingly desperate, he decided to knock on the stall door and politely asked, "Excuse me, but I really need to use the restroom. Will you be much longer in there?" To his surprise, the person inside responded with a thick accent. "What? Sorry, I don't understand very well. My English is not great." Determined to communicate his urgency, the man asked, "Are you from Europe?" The person inside the stall clarified, "No, I'm not from Europe. I'm still occupied in here." Seemingly caught in a comedic twist, the man inside the restroom cleverly replied, "No European, my friend. I'm in the middle of a, well, situation in here.